In my latest video about Demi Lee marrying Tim Tebow, I talked about the story where we met her in Atlanta. We just ran into her and I shared that story in that video, and a lot of you seem to really like that like random, candid, behind the scenes, I guess, story. So I thought right now I would share some more of those like Miss Universe encounters, behind the scenes stories, things that I haven't shared yet. So today I'm going to share why I believe Miss Universe is the best, biggest, most prestigious pageant in the world. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased here because I competed at Miss Universe and I haven't competed at Miss World. I haven't competed at Miss International. I have not competed at Miss Earth, but I have competed at Miss Supranational, so I do have something to compare it to. But how I'm, I guess, comparing Miss Universe to some of these other bigger pageants is some of the conversations I've had with fellow people who are in the pageant world, whether that's contestants who've competed at some of these other big pageants or pageant correspondents, people who go to all the different pageants, cover them for different websites. So I'm going to touch on a little bit of all of that and just, I guess, share kind of why I believe Miss Universe is like the most prestigious. Of course, there's going to be a lot of you who disagree with me, which is totally fine. This is just my opinion from my experiences, my stories, but I would love to hear your stories below. If you have been to Miss Universe and Miss World, if maybe you've competed in some of these pageants, I would love to hear your personal stories below. I do have a video actually on my Miss Supranational experience, and it's called My Miss Supranational Experience an epic fail, and I share some of the behind the scenes stories. And some people were a little bit upset about this video because they felt like I was intentionally bashing the pageant, which was not the case at all. I wanted to give a real look at what it was actually like to compete, and why I wanted to do this was because most of the time, for the most part, on Instagram and on social media in general, we tend to glamorize our experiences, especially in the pageant world. So I had seen girls who had gone to Miss Supranational, their stories, their posts, everything seemed so like glamorous and amazing, and that it was just this absolutely wonderful experience. And then they would reach out to me after I competed and been like, oh yeah, I went through that exact same thing, it was just as bad, it was just as terrible. And I thought, then why on social media like do we make it seem so amazing? So of course, when you're actually competing, you might not want to share some of that after the fact. I wanted to give like an actual real life look at what it was like. And also, this has actually helped some girls who have now gone to compete at Miss Supranational, because they would reach out to me, or maybe they saw that video and then they were more prepared. So they were more prepared going into it, knowing that, okay, this might not be what I was originally expecting, but I'm going to make the most of it, do the best that I can with what the opportunity is. So if you were to ask me to describe my Miss Universe experience in one word, I honestly don't even know what word I would use to describe it. It was surreal, it was incredible, it was exhausting. It was one of the most exhausting experiences of my life. I joke that competing at Miss Universe prepared me to have a newborn, because when I first had Lily, I literally didn't sleep for like 3 days, like 3 nights. I did not sleep. I slept for like 1 hour in 3 nights, but I had been in that level of exhaustion before, and that was at Miss Universe. So you know what? Miss Universe prepared me to have a baby. But Miss Universe was just an incredible experience. It was so beyond Miss Supranational, and I don't want to go too much into that because, like I said, I want this to be not only my experience but also what I have learned from talking to other people. So for example, there was a girl who competed at Miss Supranational with me, and she had recently competed at Miss World, and she said that, and this is just her experience, this is just her perspective, that Miss World on the outside, beauty with a purpose, charity pageant, it's the pageant that girls who want to make a difference in their community go to. It's the girls who don't care as much about the glamour, the swimsuit. And she said that behind the scenes, it was just so much different than that. And this is just her experience, keep in mind, everyone's experience is different, but that they very much showed favoritism, that there was a lot of obvious things, that they were always pulling certain girls, and that it was pretty obvious who like the favorites were by the organization, by the sponsors. Whereas in my experience at Miss Universe, then comparing it to what she told me, it's totally not like that. It is obvious that when we competed, it was in the Philippines. Miss Philippines obviously got pulled Maxine Medina for a bunch of the sponsorship things, but overall, like, I thought it was very fair. I never really thought there was big favoritism being shown. It wasn't very obvious. Other people have different experiences with that, but that's just my experience. So I know that maybe everything isn't always what it seems. From a fan perspective, when I have talked to some of the fans at Miss Supranational, at Miss Universe, namely at Miss Universe, people who have been to the different pageants say that from a fan perspective, now that we have a fan here, I would say that people have told me that being a fan, being a spectator at Miss Universe is the most exciting of the pageants. People are so much more like into it, hardcore. They have signs, they dress up, they wear sashes, they wear crowns, they do it all. And I have not gone in person to watch Miss World or Miss International, but even just seeing like the coverage, Miss Universe seems to show the fans and show how crazy and passionate they are. And in terms of watching from home, arguably Miss Universe is a lot more fun to enjoy and watch, in my opinion, just because I really enjoy the swimsuit competition and more of like fast-paced part of it. Whether we like Steve Harvey or not as a host, I feel like Miss Universe is just more exciting to watch. Again, that is just my opinion, my preference in terms of what I find exciting, what I find fun to watch. I know there are some people who have actually commented on some of my videos and said that I don't give Miss World enough credit and that they think Miss World is really fun to watch, and I think that that is great. For example, when I watched Miss World this past year, like seeing them sit in the chairs and have some of like those interviews and that kind of thing, like I think it's just different. They're just different pageants. They're different competitions altogether, so sometimes it is hard to compare them. But from a personal preference, from a personal point of view, if it came to me having to choose what to watch or what to compete in, I would choose Miss Universe. One thing I will say is that the sisterhood or the bringing back former queens seems to be a lot stronger for Miss World versus Miss Universe. The reason I say that is because I've noticed that Miss World involves the title holders more. This past year when they were doing, I forget what it was called, but they did all those interviews with all the contestants, and there were the current Miss World and a former Miss World doing those interviews, and I thought that was so awesome, so cool, because Miss Universe brings back title holders to judge. But even when I'm thinking of when we competed at Miss Universe, Pia Wurtzbach, she was the current Miss Universe, about to pass the title to Miss France, Iris Mittener, and we only got to really hear from Pia like once, twice during the entire few-week competition, and I was very shocked at that. I couldn't believe that when we got there, there wasn't some kind of like welcome dinner. Our special guest is back. In terms of what the actual title holders do, I think it might be fairly similar across the board with how often the women get to travel, what they get to do, the type of charity events that they get to do. I think just overall, Miss Universe is just a more known pageant, so people follow more of what that title holder does, like the places she goes, the things she does. But I've actually heard that the prizes, that the privileges, that the traveling experience is better for Miss World. And you'll notice I'm mostly talking about Miss World, Miss Universe, because to me, those are the two biggest pageants in the world. Miss International, actually, I was very close to going, but it's kind of a long story, but I was first runner-up at Miss Universe Canada 2013, and typically, usually, almost all the time, the first runner-up gets sent to Miss International. Kind of a long story, but if you guys want to hear that story, I can share that in another video. But in terms of what the title holders do, I think it's pretty similar across the board. I don't know exact prizes, salaries, I don't know any of that. So if any of you happen to know any of that information, I'd love to learn a bit more about that, because I just don't really know. Now, in terms of what it's like to want to compete at a pageant and what pageant girls, women want to go to, overwhelmingly, in my experience, the ultimate dream pageant to represent your country at is Miss Universe. Like, it is the ultimate. So a lot of times girls will say, well, I want to compete for Miss World first, or like Miss World Canada, and then compete for Miss Universe Canada, almost like Miss World is like their stepping stone. And of course we saw Catriona Gray, one of the most famous title holders, to go from one pageant to the other and successfully winning the one. Oh, what's this? Where'd you put it? You can see Lilia's pasta sauce all over her face. Hi! Hi, you got pasta sauce all over your face. You know what? It is what it is right now. We're just trying to get it done. Oh, thank you so much. That is so pretty. Thank you. What is it? Yeah. So in terms of pageants that girls aspire to go to, from my experience, like Miss Universe is just the absolute ultimate. It's like the dream competition. Like I said, girls will want to do some of the other pageants first, like go to Miss Supranational, like me, or go to Miss International, Miss World, and then try to go for Miss Universe. In my opinion, like I said, Miss Universe is like the ultimate. We'll see what happens. I have already started to hear rumors that there's gonna be no Miss Universe 2020, which would be completely devastating. And I feel so bad for Zoe Beanie right now because her reign is just getting completely crapped on. It sucks so much for her. It sucks for pageant fans because we don't get to see her doing anything. It's gonna be a very, very interesting year. Oh, very cool. To see what ends up happening in the pageant world, if there's going to be a Miss Universe, where it's going to be, what it will be like. It's just going to be very crazy and interesting to see how everything unfolds. So on that note, I hope you're all staying healthy, staying safe, staying home. And if you want me to dive into some more specifics, such as meeting different Miss Universes, or what it was like to go to the registration and fittings at Miss Universe, or what it was like to actually train and then show up up at Miss Universe and what the differences were, just some of those like more specific things, just kind of more like a story time video, I guess. If you are interested, let me know in the comments. Let me know which ones you want to see. Oh, that's so nice. All right, I think that is all for now. So if you guys want to see those upcoming story time videos, you can hit subscribe, hit the notifications bell so that you're notified when those videos come out, and we will see you in those next videos. Can you say bye? Wave.